Good evening and welcome to the regular City Council meeting for the City of St. Peter, Minnesota. It is Monday, April 28th, 2025. At 7 p.m. we are called to order. Would all please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All members have received a copy of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda or any revisions or corrections?
Make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Next up, approval of the minutes. The minutes appear on pages 5 through 7 of the packet. Are there any revisions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve as distributed?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have time for visitors on our schedule. Is there any visitor who'd like to address the council on an agenda item? Hearing none, any visitors who'd like to provide general comments to the council? Hearing none, we will move on to approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins with the memo on page 8 and concludes with the resolution that appears on pages 25 through 26 of the packet. It's a pretty substantial consent agenda tonight. It includes the following licenses: 2 temporary on-sale liquor licenses for the St. Peter Chamber for Minnesota Square Park on July 4th, 2025, and 101 South Front Street for 8/19/2025, a show license for the Chamber for Minnesota Square Park on July 4th, 2 tree worker licenses for Morshing's Tree Service and Pumpkin Hill Tree Service. Those are for the dates May 1st, 2025 through April 30th, 2026. There are numerous employee appointments that are printed in the packet. I will not read them all. Most of them are for the city pool, lifeguards and such, and a couple seasonal workers as well. The consent agenda also includes the schedule of disbursements for April 10th, 2025 through April 23rd, 2025. Is there any discussion on any item on the consent agenda? Hearing no discussion, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Rand.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Schuster.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved. We have no items of unfinished business tonight. We will move on to our first item of new business, which is an administrative specialist job description.
Mayor, members, I'm here and the chief is here if you have any more specific questions, but this is a job description that you discussed previously at a workshop. I do want to mention that this is not planned to be an additional FTE. This is an approach that we're using should there be an organizational change in the short to mid-term relative to the amount of service personnel that are necessary to support the police department. And so that's the basis for this new job description. Again, if you have specific questions about what this will do and how this might all work, the chief or I are happy to stand for questions that you might have. The resolution, though, approving this is a few pages back on page 30.
Questions for Todd or for the chief? Carrie?
Yeah, Chief, could you just talk about for the people at home, how they might interact with this person, currently or in the new building?
Sure. As it stands right now, there'll be fixed hours for the position, potentially a half day on Friday, just to sort of mirror the other city working staff within City Hall. But it's in the plan to have an entryway on the north end of the Scholarship America building. And within that entryway, there will be that administrative specialist that will be behind a piece of glass. And really, it's going to be similar to what people find right now, with a little bit less coverage of hours, as we know. But again, they'll be able to enter into the police department, do their business as needed, and really have that person there along with our office manager, Melinda Meyer, if Amber might be on a break, if she decides to move forward with the position.
And can you describe, what other roles this person helps support the work of the police department?
There are gonna be a lot of different roles for this person, and as we move into what we recently had with the release of our Axon mobile cameras and body cameras, it's gonna be up to that individual to prepare those files, that investigative work, along with the potential of redaction for our body cameras and or mobile cameras, to prepare that for our city attorney or our county attorney. So it'll take a lot of adjusting. It's gonna be a lot of new things that will be occurring within that position to understand exactly what they'll be doing, but they'll be processing gun permits. They'll be doing data practice requests as well too. So really very similar as to the person we have now as you enter into our police department down on Front Street.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions or anything to add, either of you? All right, hearing nothing further, the resolution approving this position description appears on page 30 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Rand?
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpston?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item of new business is a resolution authorizing the purchase of an aerial bucket truck. And Pete is here to talk to us about that.
Madam Mayor and City Council, before you have on page 31 a memo that lays out what we are looking for. It is a 2025 Terex High Ranger aerial bucket. It's very similar to what we have right now. We have a 2007 aerial bucket from Terex. We did have, using the CPV, the Cooperative Purchasing Venture, that is very similar to the state bid process. We became members of that so that we could participate in that cooperative purchasing. The unit itself is about $188,905. We anticipate that we will receive about $36,000 in value from our existing 2007. Once we declare it surplus, we'll put it out there once we receive our new vehicle. We have budgeted about $164,000 for this purchase in the electric budget. The existing unit, we have tried to keep that about as long as we can. Back in 2020, when Jason Lee took over as superintendent, this was one of the vehicles that our mechanic had identified as on the short stick for longevity, and Jason was able to get 5 more years out of it, and we're really happy that we got that many more years out of it. We do maintain about 1,246 street lights, plus all the street lights on Highway 169. This unit will have a 40-foot capacity as far as the lift. Right now we're running about $7,500 a year in maintenance. Of course, you're starting to see quite a few failures in the hydraulic hoses and portions of the lift that are important to us. As I mentioned, we have a resolution on page 33 and we're asking for approval.
Thanks, Pete. Questions for Pete or any discussion? Ben?
Pete, just a goofy question. So the last one was a 36-footer, right?
35, yeah,
35 and some
yeah.
change.
Yep.
This one's a 40-footer. How often do we have to go up to, like, what do we have that's that tall? Street lights aren't that?
Just the stuff on 169. So we have an agreement with MnDOT that we will maintain those. And as you know, we redid Highway 22 intersection. That is the main area that requires the extra lift.
Lights
Lights
up on top of the signal lights.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And so this is the current Terex smallest unit that they have. So they used to make a 35, but they found it really difficult to maintain the maintenance on that, so they went to a little beefier unit.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Hearing nothing further, the resolution authorizing the purchase of a 2025 Terex High Ranger LT40 aerial device mounted on a Ford F600 is on page 33 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpston?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
Councilmember Ram.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thanks, Pete.
Thank
We're gonna move on to a resolution for approving new licenses. Todd?
So, Madam Mayor and members, we have 2 new licenses in front of you. One is for on-sale liquor, and then one is for Sunday liquor for El Mazatlan Mexican Restaurant at 1611 Old Minnesota Avenue. So for those folks that have been in the community for a long time, it is the old, new KFC building that will be occupied. I'm sure people have seen work going on down there. You'll note that the dates for this are from May 1st through the end of June. That coincides with the regular licensing period for liquor licensing. So they'll have a license for a couple of months here, and then they'll have to reapply, just as everyone does who receives a liquor license. So their liquor license cost is prorated for a couple of months. And that's how it works. The resolution's included in your packet. Certainly the background checks were done and we found nothing that would prohibit them from receiving these 2 licenses.
And when this comes back to us, it will be on the consent agenda because they won't be new licenses at that point?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions for Todd? Brad?
So Todd, why do we have a separate Sunday liquor license? Is that just a legacy thing from, that's just, we've had for a long time?
So I would tell you that it's based on how the state statutes are put together. So Sunday liquor licensing is a separate licensing. The procedures and all those kind of things are similar, but it provides for different hours and other things that go on. So cities across Minnesota who allow for Sunday liquor licensing usually handle that in 2 separate categories: regular license and then Sunday licensing.
Additional questions? Hearing nothing further, the resolution approving new licenses is on page 35 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sharpstrong.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Ram.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, a request for city assistance for Memorial Day Walk of Honor Parade.
Mayor members, this is from American Legion Post 37, and they, as you know, usually conduct a Memorial Day event in Minnesota Square Park. For the last few years, they have had, for our purposes, what gets classified as a parade, but they might call it a Memorial March down 3rd Street. It starts at the American Legion generally and walks south on 3rd Street towards Minnesota Square Park, and they arrive typically just in time for the ceremony to start. And so they're looking for approval to provide for that parade again this year. The resolution's included in your packet on page 38. They're required to carry the appropriate amount of licensing, just like anyone that conducts a parade within the city of St. Peter, and they are able to provide that, and they'll provide that as we get closer to the event. If they are unable to provide it, then the license would not be approved, or the permit would not be approved. But again, this would be for the Walk of Honor Parade, and the resolution's on page 38.
Questions for Todd? Hearing no questions, the resolution approving city assistance for the American Legion Post number 37 Walk of Honor Parade is on page 38. Is there a motion to approve?
And if I could, Madam Mayor, maybe one thing that I should mention is that this is different than some of the other parades that we have in town, in that there are really only 2 units. It's the American Legion, and that the Governors provide a marching beat for the activity that goes on. So it's not like they're open for other parade floats or anything. It's just these 2 units.
Yep, yep.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Ram.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstrong.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. And I'll just say the Legion does a great job with the Memorial Day program out at Minnesota Square Park. So if you're in St. Peter on that day, it's a really meaningful event. And
It
so
is.
I'm happy that the city can assist in this way. We will move on to our last item of new business, Gorman Park reimbursement resolution.
So, Mayor members, this is what we might call a belt and suspenders approach to financing of the Gorman Park improvements. The City Council's taken a number of actions. You've been through a planning process, an extensive planning process. You've awarded so far in Phase 1 4 bids for various aspects of the project that are going to continue to move forward. My hope here is that you'll approve the attached resolution that provides for designating reimbursement. And this is really for two primary purposes. One of which in phase one, as you know, we are very close but do not have all the funding necessary to complete phase one where you're at. And with phase two, although you have not initiated that, we do not have funding identified. We have a number of funding sources identified, but we have not received those dollars or in the process for grants and some other things that may go on. The reason that I'm asking you to pass this is because it provides an opportunity, should we not be able to raise all the funding that you might see, if you choose, again, only if you would choose to issue debt to cover remaining costs. This allows future debt to pay for bills that we're incurring essentially now. Otherwise, that would not be allowed under the law. And so this resolution is necessary to ensure that you have that belt and suspenders approach, should you choose, if you choose in the future, to issue debt for any portion of the work that's going to go on in Gorman Park.
And this is similar to what we've done on other projects.
You have done this
so-
on other projects. You have done this on many other projects, but it allows for the identification of those parts of the project that may be paid for by debt.
Any questions for Todd?
The resolution is included in the packet, and it has been developed by your bond counsel. So Taft, Mary Eppel from your team provides some of the information for this as we move this forward.
All right. Seeing no further discussion or questions, the resolution establishing procedures relating to compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code begins on page 41 and concludes with the exhibit on page 43 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We might have a third. All those, call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Moran.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstra.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We will move on to reports. I don't have any reports tonight. How about reports from council members?
I do have a report. If I may. I just wanted to report on some of the activity I've been doing outside of the council. It's kind of a combination of my work on the CGMC, Economic Development Committee, and then also with RITA too. So these two worlds have collided. So one of the things that, as you know, you can participate on a committee for CGMC.
That is Coalition of Greater Minnesota
I'm sorry,
Cities.
Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, thank you. And I participate on the Economic Development Committee back in the fall when we were discussing priorities. I talked a lot about resident recruitment and retention, primarily because we spend a lot of our shared dollars with the Regional Economic Development Alliance on marketing our region for economic development and trying to bring business and industry to the area. And so with the CGMC, and we do a lot of lobbying on the state level, I was curious about, what is our state doing for those dollars to attract and retain new residents. And so while we didn't put it in our policies, we did decide to come up with a subcommittee. And so the subcommittee has been doing this work, and now, as of Friday, engaged with Explore Minnesota Executive Director, who has basically shared ways that different economic development agencies like RITA can engage on how we can collaborate. So we can make the dollars that we put into RITA that go toward marketing stretch even further, and even collaborate with Explore Minnesota and what they're doing. A few years ago, they received $10 million from DEED. And this was all done through the legislature to advance the work of Explore Minnesota to kind of get in that economic development realm. And so we're just trying to make sure that they're using those dollars equitably. So it's not just generated towards like certain areas of the state, but it's really across the state, because outside of the metro, we're able to provide a lot of really great opportunities for livability, and we have a lot to offer, especially in our region too. So like I said, those two worlds kind of collided, and we were able to invite Ryan from GMG, Ryan VC, and he got to ask some really great questions, and I think this started this relationship with Explore Minnesota is going to go even further. So I just wanted to report on that work, so that y'all know what I've been up to, and that it advances the work of what we want to accomplish with Rita.
That's really exciting, Carrie.
Yeah.
Thanks for your work on that.
Thank you.
Any other reports from council members? How about our city administrator?
Members, I have 3 things that I wanted to mention just quickly, and the first of which is, all of you I know are aware, but want to make the public aware of a joint meeting that occurred between the city council and the school board on the 14th. You talked about a number of issues, and we typically try to meet once or twice a year, and I thought, and certainly time for all of you to comment, but I think we had a really good meeting. A lot of great information was shared, some thoughts about activities that are occurring, and certainly things that might occur in the future. And so I left thinking, what a great meeting, great communication, a lot of discussion, and it felt good to get together. I don't know if anyone else has any comments about that, but those are important things that help move lots of projects forward within your community.
I think I'll add how much I appreciate the collaborative relationship between the city and the school district. Not every city has that, and it really is to the benefit of our residents. And so thanks to, school board and school district leadership and city leadership for making that happen. It doesn't happen by accident. I think it really takes effort and, fostering those relationships. So I find it to be a very useful meeting.
Thanks, everyone. We'll have another one, and that committee that we've had in the past is starting to have a reformation, and we'll try and have names where we call it the same thing that they call it for that liaison committee. So that'll be nice to get that going. Next I have on my list is just want to mention that at the end of this last week, Pete and his team got all the restrooms operational in all the parks. So as spring continues to bud, it's important to know that those are available for the community. And if there are any questions or concerns, please give us a call. We're happy to help solve those as quickly as we can. And in conjunction with that, and keeping with my spring theme, if you have not checked out the recreation programming that's available in the summer, it is budded out and will bloom in about 3 or 4 weeks with every activity that you can imagine going on in the near future. So if you want to sign up for something, or certainly sign up your kids, or maybe you're a senior and want to get signed up for some of the wellness programs that we have going on, now is a great time. It's on our website, easy to see. The brochures came out about a month and a half ago, give or take a little bit. You can certainly come down to the community center or city hall. We have additional brochures if you'd like to work with paper, and we'd love to get you signed up. There are many, 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 many programs, as you all know. The rec department on the average week has over 50 scheduled programs a week with the rec department and the library combined. So there's a lot of cool stuff that goes on within your community. This is one of those areas where your bloom is larger than the plant, where you punch above your weight and have a lot of great programming. So we want to encourage people to participate in that. Madam Mayor, the last thing that I have for you is a request for approval of a resolution calling for a closed or executive session on potentially 2 real estate transactions. So these would be 2 separate closed sessions. One is located at 2110 Klein Street, and then the second is at 1225 South Washington. The resolution allowing for the closed session is on page 44. I would anticipate coming back into open session only to adjourn. I have no other action scheduled. This is an update for the council on these potential transactions. And again, coming back into open session only to adjourn.
So we'll recess to the Traverse de Sioux room downstairs.
Yes.
For these sessions. All right. Any questions or discussion? Daryl?
Todd, could you add the other address to the resolution? You only have the Klein Street one.
Oh, thank you. We'll make sure to get that covered. Thank you.
With that, I will make that motion.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the modified resolution. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramp.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye. The resolution is approved. So we will recess to close session. It is 7:24 p.m.